The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, Supersize Your Business. Our idiom today is the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Now, I don't think there's an apple in this amazing headdress, but I thought it was a fun filter for the apple not falling far from the tree. This idiom, this proverb, although biblical in nature, it has a biblical origin. It also is attributed to Ralph Waldo Emerson, the American philosopher. In 1839 wrote a letter about the apple never falls far from the stem, which is the same thing. If you've ever been to an orchard, an apple orchard, apple picking, we do that in the Midwest. Go to the apple orchard. You'll notice as you're walking around the orchard that each tree will have a whole lot of apples in a circular, in a circumference around the tree, because the apples from that tree tend to fall and be next to that tree. Fruit falls to the ground, but it stays close to the tree that it came from. That's just, something from nature that we can learn from. Well, what does that mean to us? Do you look like or act like either of your parents? Do you have any certain similarities or characteristics with either your mom or your dad or your siblings? Have you ever traveled to a place where after a couple of days of staying there, you've taken on some of the vocabulary or the mannerisms or the attitude or the accent of the people in that particular area? I used to travel with one of my sisters, and it would be kind of annoying. We'd go down to Texas or we'd go to Mexico or somewhere, and within a day she would be, using Hispanic words and Spanish, and then she'd be using and mimicking things, and then she'd have this Southern drawl within a day or so of being there. And we all do that. We pick that up. I have picked up different terms and different vocabulary from different places that I've lived throughout my lifetime. We all do that. Have you noticed that in your work environment or in your industry, there's specific behaviors or specific processes and actions, and the way we do things in this industry that people tend to, once they go to college, even in college, we congregate in our different areas of study. Business kids hang out with business kids. The science kids hang out with science kids. The engineers hang out with engineers. I was hanging out with the engineers when I was in college. We tend to congregate in organizations or in groups that are like us. When we get into an industry, when we start our job or our career or our business, we tend to stay in that industry and only do what we've learned, what's normal in that industry. The way to really stand out, the way to really grow and supersize your business is to look for what works in other industries and apply that to yours. What works for other businesses that would make sense and would be perfect for yours. That's one of the key factors and key things that I've done throughout my corporate career and throughout my businesses, is to say, all right, I've been in different industries. Yep, there's similarities, there's traits, there's characteristics, there's things that work in all of them, but there are also things that other industries have never even seen that would help to supercharge your business and make you, exponentially more effective in your role, in your business, in what you're trying to accomplish and grow in the world. So this is actually, I love this expression. I love this idiom. Maybe because I do see that I'm like my father in some ways. I'm like my mother in some ways. I think all of us, when we become parents, we swear we're not going to say or sound like our mom. And then one day we have that voice coming out of our mouth and we're like, oh my God, that sounded just like something my mom would say. Or, how did my mom's voice come out of my mouth? Or how did my dad's voice come out of my mouth when we're talking to our kids? And the same thing happens in our businesses. When we're leading and growing our businesses, we'll catch ourselves behaving in a way maybe like a previous boss had treated us, or somebody else that we've had an experience with. And that's okay if it's a positive, good thing that we want to pass on and learn. We want to adopt those ideas, those ideologies, I was going to say, and those habits and practices that serve us and help our business to grow and become what we want. But those that aren't so good, we want to leave those behind. We've all had good bosses and bad bosses, things we've learned from them that we want to pass on and be a good example. And we want to be a good example for our people. And then we've all had things that, we've had bosses where we just shake our head and we're like, I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to be that way. And then boom, all of a sudden a crisis happens and we catch ourselves behaving in a more dictatorial way or a bossier way than we normally would in other situations. I think there's probably been a lot of that going on in the last year, where things just have to be done quickly and in a way that we've never done them before. And so there tends to be a fallback to our actual base nature. So love to know your experience with this. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Have you seen this? Have you ever said it or used it? I mean, I've said it about my kids. People have said it about my kids. I've said it about I've had it told to me because of, you know, my parents. People that know my parents will know that some ways I'm like my mom, some ways I'm like my dad. And hopefully I've picked up their good habits and I've left the bad ones. Not that they had a lot of bad habits. My parents are awesome. Behind. Have an amazing day. I'll, of course, be with you tomorrow with another interesting idiom. What does it mean? Where does it come from? And how might you use it in your life and especially in your business? And I probably won't have this awesome headdress on ever again. Have an amazing day. Catch you tomorrow.